my friend Leroy, who's just undergone gene therapy. Oh, maybe you'd like to join me. But before we go, I think I better give you a good overview on the history of gene therapy. Let's take a look. 1970, two sisters with a genetic disorder lack the enzyme arginase and suffer from seizures and mental impairment. Dr. Stanfield Rogers tries to treat the sisters by using a virus to carry the healthy gene into their cells. In this case, gene therapy is unsuccessful. 1990, one of the first studies of gene therapy is done in humans in a 4-year-old girl with severe combined immunodeficiency. A functional gene copy is inserted into her white blood cells, and due to a successful outcome, more interest is taken in gene therapy. 1991, the U.S. government provides $58 million for gene therapy research. At the turn of the century, the tide changes. The clinical trial of an 18-year-old boy, Jesse Gelsinger, goes horribly wrong when his immune system reacts to the gene therapy. Public opinion of gene therapy takes a downward spiral when Jesse passes away. Wow, gene therapy has had such a controversial past. I'm really surprised that Leroy had the courage to go through with it. What a brave soul. But maybe life really was unbearable before. Why don't we hear it straight from him? Let's take a look.
I remember I always had to sit very close to the TV, and in school I always had a hard time reading the board. But it wasn't so bad at that point. But then it just kept getting worse and worse. My parents kept taking me to more and more doctors to try to help my eyes not be so sick. No one knew it was wrong though. And then I found out I had a retinal disease called the Leber Congenital Amaurosis. It meant that my eyes couldn't figure out the light so good, so everything got real fuzzy.
Poor Leroy! But I still don't really get how genetic therapy works. Wait a minute, I do have connections. My good friend, Professor Genome, is regarded as an expert in the field of gene therapy. Let's take a look at her private genetics tutorial class.
The human body is a complex system made up of many, many cells. Within these cells, we find the genetic information called DNA. Within this DNA, you find genes that are used to create proteins that control many functions in our bodies, from making us grow taller to regulating our cellular processes.
Question. So, do our cells keep on making more and more proteins all the time? Wouldn't we have too many?
Throughout our lives, genes are turned on or off as required for certain processes or functions to work. It's a precise regulation in which the genes are either upregulated or downregulated in order to create more or less proteins as required. If the genes are missing or if the regulation is impaired, then disease can happen and wreak havoc on our bodies.
Hold up. So where do these genes come from? Our mom or our dad?
They actually come from both. We get one set of genes from our dad and one from our mom. If the disease is autosomal recessive, this is a problem because both genes are bad and no proteins can be made. The parents were okay because they were heterozygous, so they had one good set of genes that could compensate and create the protein that was required. Well, if both sets of genes are bad, this is where gene therapy comes in. Scientists are able to add the gene in and thus create the required protein.
You just put a gene in? How is that possible? Do you shoot it in with a gun? Bang, bang?
Sometimes, yes. Scientists are able to directly introduce the DNA via a gene gun, but most of the time a vector is used, such as a virus.
A virus? Like when I have the stomach flu? Won't that make me sick?
Scientists are able to use viruses to our advantage. What normally happens is that the virus latches onto its cell, injects its viral DNA, and then hijacks our cellular machinery to create more viruses and make more of our cells sick. With gene therapy, though, scientists modify this viral DNA so that it no longer makes us sick. and instead include the gene of choice, thus getting it into the proper location in the cell, and then creating the protein that is required.
So we really don't have to worry about the virus making us sick? It just sounds so simple.
Nothing is as simple as it seems, and the DNA in the virus can turn back to the pathogenic, sick form because viruses reproduce and mutate so easily they can adapt to changing environments with no problem.
Well, that seems pretty scary. What else can go wrong with gene therapy? Is that the only problem?
It is also possible that our body will have an immune reaction to the new DNA because it will recognize it as foreign. This is definitely a case of having too much of a good thing because although our immune systems are used to fight infections and keep us healthy, if the immune system is turned on for too long, it actually starts to fight our own cells and can make us really sick.
Phew, that was a lot of science, but I guess I wouldn't mind hearing from another expert in the field as well. Let's take a look.
Gene therapy offers many advantages to the treatment of cancer. I think there are some hurdles that have to be overcome, but indeed I think the benefits outweigh the difficulties in addressing the hurdles. And I think we should go forward in that regard. We need to make sure that the gene therapy constructs are delivered to the correct cell populations and the expression within the gene therapy vectors is controlled in a way that optimizes medical benefit.
Well, now that I understand the science behind the whole thing, I'm ready to hear the story of how Leroy came to enter the clinical trial. Maybe you'd like to join me. Let's take a look.
One day at the eye doctor's office, he told my mom and pops about something going on at the local university. Some kind of newfangled operation to help with my eyesight. The doctors were going to inject something into my eyeballs, and it was going to bring back my vision, they said. I was only going to be the third kid to have this procedure done to them, so I was kind of scared. But my parents told me to do it, so I did it. And it worked, and I'm so happy. I can look at anything I want all day.